Did you know the average person blinks 15 times per minute? If you didn't, now you do. Let's get into it. All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Podcast. I am Prescott Kelly. Today is Sunday, February 2nd. Glad to have you back with us on today's episode. No football. Well, mostly. We'll get into certain topics, kind of streamlined through the episode. But remember to like, share, subscribe, smash the 5-star reviews. Also, the audio podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, my button's broken. There we go. Audio podcast is available wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And like, share, subscribe, smash the 5-star reviews when you get there. The first thing I want to get to, though, is this whole Cam Newton thing. He was criticized heavily when it came to Stephen A. Smith asked him, would you give up your MVP for a championship? And he said, no, I wouldn't do it. And I really don't have a problem with what he said, because Cam Newton, the person, not even the person we kind of know, right? He's out there. He's very flamboyant, I think is the only real word I can use. He's out there. He's his own person, though. Let's be serious about that. But Cam Newton, the quarterback, always said the right things, right? He was always buttoned up. He always said what he was supposed to do. He never threw anybody under the bus. I'm the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers at the time for most of his career. He always held himself to the standard that you're supposed to as a quarterback. I have no problem with anything he's ever done, anything he's ever said. We can make fun of the hats and the outfits all we want to, but he didn't do that initially. It took a little bit of time for him to really get into that space. But what I will say is, when he was playing, he was always the consummate professional, right? Never once. You can say he was selfish for doing the Superman, right? You're down by 25 and you're still doing this. All right, man, that's a little bit of look at me. But in today's NFL, and today, I mean 10 years ago, wink, wink, we want to think that everything is so either or it's so far removed, or it's right now and then. We're not really able to think about what's actually happening, because 10 years ago isn't really that long ago. Cam Newton was the MVP of the league 10 years ago. That it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but we somehow as people kind of distance ourselves from the past. And I think that that's what we do as we get older, because us as this generation, me being 40, we have this ability now to think that, well, it wasn't that long ago, but it still was. Cam Newton was the MVP of the NFL 10 years ago, a decade ago, and he did it with largely nothing offensively, right? So when it comes to Cam, when he's in the role of being the QB, being the quarterback, he has always, what I've ever seen in press game conferences, which doesn't mean a whole lot, because I feel like largely in those environments, you don't get a whole lot of real talk. You get a lot of coach speak, which is what he was doing. But that's what y'all want. Y'all want the coach speak. Y'all want him to say whatever he's supposed to say. If he goes off script, it's, well, now he's selfish. Now he's not Cam Newton, the quarterback, anymore. He's Cam Newton, the podcast host. He's Cam Newton, the TV guest and analyst, if you will. He's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be saying. So when Stephen A. Smith, and this is what's always bothered me, Stephen A. Smith, who is criticizing Cam Newton for saying that he wouldn't trade his MVP, when Stephen A. Smith himself averaged 3 points per game at like a JUCO college? No, man, look, man, Cam isn't here for that. And I'm not here for it either. But he didn't do anything wrong. When he was asked, would you trade your MVP for a Super Bowl ring? And Mario Escalara or Mario, oh God, I call them the Mario brothers because they're both very much active on my page, and I love both these dudes, either De La Rosa or Escalara. One of them said, hey man, there's only so many MVPs. Y'all made it a quarterback league. Y'all made a quarterback MVP status. So if being the MVP and being a quarterback both coincide with each other, it's not his fault that y'all dumbed it down to it. Then maybe, and I know this isn't a fan thing, it's the voters, but it's been a quarterback-driven stat. It's been a quarterback favored award for the last 20 years, it feels like. So you can't blame Cam for that. They went 15-1. If you don't think that he was worthy of it, then the people who were voting for it shouldn't have voted for it. But the Mario brothers are right. There's only 54 of these guys, or it's in that 50 range of people who have won MVPs, most valuable player. And in that year, when they went 15-1, he was the most valuable player. It's fine. And I need to find a better word for sip. I really do, because I use it too much. And I understand that I need to get off that pedestal of that. But he is somebody where y'all just love to hate on because his clothes look different than what you would wear. His takes are more out there as opposed to more of a more conservative thought process. But Cam's right, dude. And I don't blame him one bit, because he didn't. Everybody who is saying that Cam disrespected his teammates and his coaches, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Because he wouldn't have gotten, obviously, an MVP without the offensive line, without the offensive weapons that he had. But he wasn't when he was playing, he was not disrespecting any of those people. Again, he is 10 years removed from getting that MVP. 10 years. So for him saying, would I replace that with something else? No, I don't blame him for it. He is somebody who is now etched in stone of, I was in one season, okay? We don't have to do this back and forth of what's your legacy. It doesn't matter. For that year, I was voted by not just by my peers, by whoever gets a vote in this space. Whether you agree with it or not, he was voted the most valuable player. Bar none. There it is. And no, he shouldn't feel bad about it. But if you think that he shouldn't get that, maybe you should hold the people who vote for these things at a higher standard. Maybe y'all should get mad at them as opposed to the people who get these awards. Because the players don't vote for it, and we as fans don't vote for it. So maybe the people who are voting for these things are simps. If that's your thought process, at least, right? Because again, Cam didn't do anything wrong, man. He didn't do anything wrong except for play football and then go 15-1 with a trash. And I can't express this enough. When it comes to offensive, we use the term weapons a lot, but the fact that he went 15-1 with Greg Olsen, man, y'all better you better put some respect on that dude's name, man. Because as much as you don't like the way he dresses and his hats and everything else, his takes are good. He's entertaining, and when he was playing, he was not throwing anybody under the bus. He also didn't throw anybody under the bus when he said that he wouldn't trade his MVP for Super Bowl. It's really not that difficult, guys. It's really not. When you're considered the best of the best at that point in time, take it, bro. I have no qualms at all about what Cam Newton said about not wanting to trade his MVP for a Super Bowl because, and again, the Mario brothers said it best. There are people who are 53rd on the depth chart who get a Super Bowl ring. There's only 60 people, less than 60 people ever to get an MVP. You're the most valuable player. Not even dictated by you, your teammates, or your peers. Others. I have no problem with Cam Newton said. And he's also good at what he does on camera. He is. Him and Gilbert Arenas, like both those dudes get so much heat because they don't give you the traditional sports take, right? They don't give you the old head take of it's a team sport. When they're in the environment of when they're playing, they give you the coach speak. But now that they're retired, they don't have to appease anybody. They've got the money, they've got the outlets. They don't care. And they're telling you exactly what's going on and what they're thinking, what they're going through right now. No, man, they're good in this space. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that they're not right. Moving on. God. Whew, boy, y'all got me worked over that. Like, Cam Newton to me, oof. I'll move on to the next thing in a moment. But again, you can find the audio podcast wherever you get your podcast. That's actually where I need to start you guys. For people who watch the live, I really do appreciate it. But the audio podcast really needs a little bit of a juice going forward. So look at the Playbook podcast or look at Prescott Kelly, wherever you get your podcast, and go forward. And you can watch and follow if you can't get everything here on the live on Facebook or YouTube, you can still get there. But anyway, going forward, the next topic was Patrick Mahomes being less likable than Tom Brady. And I thought that was wild to me because my buddy Josh Weidman said this, and he said, I think that he's less likable than Brady because he whines. And I go, well, Brady did too. Do we not see all of Tom Brady's whining? Because that was the thing. Like, if you're a top level quarterback in the NFL, you get those calls. Josh Allen still gets those calls, even though he hasn't been to Super Bowl. It doesn't matter, but he still gets them, right? He gets them in the regular season. He still gets them in the playoffs, depending on where he's playing, if you want to play that game. But just putting on the face of Patrick Mahomes is less likable than Brady. Let's look at the both of them, right? I have always made the equation of the Kansas City Chiefs were basically the Golden State Warriors before like the last 2 years. You know, it mostly was football related because if the Chiefs got down by 10 when they had Tyreek Hill, you're like, no lead is safe, right? Same thing when you had Golden State in their heyday when they had Clay at his prime and Curry in his prime, you're like, no lead safe. You could be down by 30 in the third quarter and go, oh, nope, we don't feel good. We don't feel good about it. And the Chiefs were the exact same way. But they're the same, but not in that sense anymore. What they've done is they've kind of pivoted to the fact of Mahomes and Curry have gotten to a point where the greatness has been overly reasons. Oh, sorry, I'm going to the chat. Mario Escalara says recency bias is crazy. Brady and the Pats were much more insufferable than the Chiefs dynasty. And I want to make something very, very clear when we talk about this. The Chiefs have been annoying for what reasons? Because when I remember is 7 years ago, Patrick Mahomes was awesome because he was putting up video game numbers, right? Once they started not put up video game numbers and he wasn't, it was, well, now the fix is in. Why? Maybe he's just really good at football, and maybe I've been telling you guys for the last 4 years that wide receivers don't matter. I keep telling y'all. So who are your top 10 wide receivers? Y'all give me 40. You guys, the collective universe of social media can't even get to a defined 10. You know who matters, though? Number 15. And stop with this whole ref stuff. I'm tired of the bullshit with everyone complaining about the refs. We're getting a little bit off topic. But the Chiefs and Warriors were teams that were, if you were down by multiple scores, obviously in basketball you get more possessions, so I don't feel it. I don't feel like I should have to explain that, but I get roast on the internet if I don't really give you guys the answers to the test all the time. So I'll give you the answers to the test. Multiple possessions in football or down by 10 in the fourth of basketball. We'll go ahead and do that real quick. So if you were in those positions, if you're the Chiefs from 4 years ago or the Golden State Warriors from 6 years ago, you never felt safe, right? And that was what it was. And we used to love those guys because they put up video game numbers. But then when they start winning ugly, they get all the calls or it's getting old. I've made this comparison a lot of different times is once you get oversaturated, you then become overrated in the eyes of the public view. So Kevin Hart, that's always been my biggest target when it comes to this is, oh, well, you can't do anything wrong with Kevin Hart. Put him in a movie. And then he gets in too many movies and you're like, that guy sucks. He's not funny. No, he's been funny. Maybe you don't like him anymore, but that's because you see him too often. Chef Curry. He's awesome until you see him all the time and you go, I'm tired of seeing him. Patrick Mahomes, same thing. You love watching him at first and now you're tired of it. And you're just looking for an excuse to make somebody else the new best thing because you're tired of the last thing. And that's why Josh Allen is getting so much love is because he's not the guy who's won before. He is the guy he plays the way that we, as most NFL fans, love to watch NFL football, right? It's the Brett Favre years. Even though it's a passing league now, we always dumb it down to that. It's a passing league. But in a passing league era, or in the previous leagues, when it came, or the previous era, when it came to the Brett Favres and things like that, it was supposed to be rough and tough, muck it up in the mud. It was a run to set the pass type of league, right? And it was those guys that we loved watching. And Josh Allen largely represents that type of person, the recklessness. It's the fun to watch type of person, but still makes dummy plays. And a lot of people just don't want to give him any type of criticism whatsoever, and that's what frustrates me as a fan as a Bills. But we kind of digress a little bit, but I got to really wrangle it back in. So the original point was when it comes to who is less likable, Mahomes or Brady, I was actually staggered by the fact that my buddy Josh said that he thought that Mahomes was less likable than Brady, which I don't see how that's possible at all. Like there's been no cheating scandals at all, regardless of what the internet says and what the internet wants you to believe. There haven't been any scandals whatsoever with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, or the Chiefs at all. Bar none, case closed. Now, maybe we get a 30 for 30 down the line because, let's be serious, the Pats have had a lot of those things too. But I don't see how you think that Mahomes could ever be less likable than Brady. He says the right things all the time because they're conditioned to do it. So I don't want to give Mahomes the entire breakaway of it's easy to like you because you say the right things. They're conditioned to, they're coached to say the right things, which is why I keep telling y'all, don't believe everything you hear and don't believe everything you see because they're conditioned to say the right things in these press conferences. So when you get some type of organic response from somebody, it's refreshing. If you're somebody like me, I love hearing an actual organic response from somebody. But when you get that, it starts controversy, which is good for people like me in this space because we like to talk about stuff. Bill Belichick doesn't like to talk about anything. Mike Tomlin doesn't like to talk about anything. But also, when they don't talk about anything, they're still interesting in the way that they don't say anything because they at least give you something to go forward with. Again, so we're getting a little bit off topic. Anyway, I was just very surprised by the fact that I was told that Mahomes would be less likable than Brady. When Brady now seems to be kind of coming out of his shell, right? I understand he's done with his divorce, and I didn't speak much on his with him and Gisele. I didn't put a whole lot of time into it because I know that marriage is difficult. It's already difficult enough when you're not in the private eye or when you're not in the public view. But when you are, it's got to be exponentially worse. And what was happening with him in the roast, God, kids must just feel awful. And that's why I didn't want to put a whole lot of time in it. But there's enough time has passed where we can still kind of revisit is do we think that he was not a terrible person, because even that sounds weird, but he is somebody in my perspective that we have gone back and forth of he's the worst quarterback ever, because not the worst, that's hyperbole, but incredibly overrated because of the cheating scandals, or he's the best ever. But also when it says the unlikable factor, which is really what we're getting down to, is nobody liked Tom Brady until he actually got done with playing football. Am I wrong or am I wrong? Because when he was playing, he was largely he was still public enemy number one. Nobody wanted to watch him. Nobody wanted to root for him except for New England fans. If you were in Massachusetts, you were about that life. But if you weren't, you hated that man. But once he retired, we got to see a different version of him, right? We got to see a funner version of him. Maybe it was football. Maybe that was Bill Belichick. Maybe that was his ex-wife, because maybe he knew it was going down on the back end. No pun intended. But to me, I feel like Mahomes is a much more relatable person, at least. And maybe it turns. Maybe it doesn't get that way going down the line. But what we've seen from Tom Brady over the last 20 years, we thought this guy, he sucks. I can't stand him. The Patriots are cheaters, everything else like that. And all of his accomplishments were discredited. But now that he's not playing anymore, now he's being elevated, which has been my entire point of all these things. When it's all said and done, guys, when it's all done, said and over, nobody's going to give it. We're going to move on to the next thing as quickly as we can. Except for two things. Brady being the GOAT, Braun versus Jordan. Even when I die, I'm 40. When I die, I'll tell you what, y'all still be doing those two things for the rest of your lives. Let's go back to the chat real quick. Anthony says, nah, we're tired of them winning via controversial calls. No, man, we're not doing that. Anthony McBride, look, bro, I know that you and me, we're copacetic with each other. We're copacetic with each other. You don't like my Josh Allen takes. You're a Patriots fan. I get that. You said Brady got favorable treatment as well, and the Pats benefited from it. I'm a Brady and Pats fan. No, I know, and I appreciate you doing that now, because I just got back to the chat for that, and I appreciate you saying that. But again, when Brady was playing, he got all the smoke. He's a cheater. The Patriots are cheaters. Belichick's a cheater, and he's done, right? That was in our minds. That was it. And then he left and went to Tampa, and now he's a commentator. And now we're like, oh, he has a personality. We actually like this dude. I mean, I don't care one way or the other. I mean, as a Bills fan, one, I couldn't stand that dude when he was in the division playing us. I said us, but playing the Bills. But also even went to Tampa, and as a commentator, I don't like him either. But I respect everything. And no, I don't. The cheating is the cheating is the cheating, and I don't really care, because I guarantee you a lot of other teams are doing the exact same thing, and maybe they've gotten caught, maybe they don't. It just doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What was wild to me was the fact that people, most specifically Josh, said that Patrick Mahomes is less likable than Tom Brady, which I thought was odd, because most people hate Tom Brady and now they like him now. I think what really helps now, what helps now to me, is the fact that the roast happened, I feel like there's a little bit of more likability because, man, he got smoked on Netflix. And I think that showed a little bit more of his, I feel like that showed more of his likability. But I personally still, I don't think he's a good commentator. I know he's a great quarterback. I know he's awesome at what he does. But when it comes to commentary, yeah, I don't know, man. Like there isn't one person on planet Earth that draws me to a game. And there's not anybody who takes me away from one. It's really the bottom line. I'm about ready to move on to the next thing, but I do have some more comments in the chat. Let me see. I just want to go to make sure my scroll is updated before I. Luca. Okay, Luca talks are coming up, but let's get to the chat and then go to Luca. Nigel's in the chat. He goes, I really enjoy the Pats run. It's a huge outlier that isn't supposed to happen with how the NFL is designed to work. I have the Chiefs in that category. They are a fascinating study, which I agree. Tell them to stop committing fouls. That must be of that. That's probably in lieu of the, or not in lieu of, but in regards to the whole, the Chiefs are cheating and all sort of stuff. Anthony McBride says, man, we don't know these dudes, so to care if they're likable is goofy to me. Football draws me to the game. No, so Anthony, like what I'm saying is like it's still a talking point, right? Like we don't have to like these guys one way or the other. And obviously you as a Pats fan, you might have more of a pulse and more of a want to defend your Patriots and Tom Brady. It was just the fact that somebody told me that Patrick Mahomes was less likable than Tom Brady. And I laid out to you every single reason why the Patriots would be less likable, right? It's one is the dominance. It's the dynasty. It's the cheating. It's the actual evidence of cheating. It's having somebody who is a murderer. Like you can put any number on the fact of why the Patriots and Tom Brady would be less likable than Patrick Mahomes. And the only thing for me, and we're just talking likability, that's it, is the fact that now there is the Taylor Swift and everybody with the conspiracy theories of the officiating, which again, I think is absolute trash. LaShawn pops in, he goes, what did I miss? Bro, not a whole lot. And what's weird is like, when this goes to audio form, it's going to be one of the worst podcasts ever. But at least while we're live, it'll be fun. But again, this is the Playbook Podcast, and I said it's going to be live. And look, if you're watching right now, if you shared this while it's live, I appreciate it. I appreciate more once it's in audio form. If you share it, regardless of what your podcast, audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, doesn't really matter. Wherever you get them, if you share it there, that means the most. But if we just want to be here and be present, I appreciate that too. What I miss, Nigel said running backs still don't matter. To get to Anthony Bride real quick before we go to Luca, because I want to get to this Luca Anthony Davis trade because this is going to blow your minds. If you've been following me long enough, you know that it won't, but that doesn't really matter. Anthony says, I'm not disagreeing with you, brother. I'm just saying the Pats were hated because of Brady's favorable treatment, just as well as Mahomes. People hate greatness. I feel like there's a yes and a no to that. The favorable calls, again, it comes down to the Tuck rule or the fact that I have a really difficult time with this because I know that's me as a Bills fan, right? I used to be, when I was in my mid to late 20s and somewhat early 30s, I used to have this type of complex where the Patriots are cheating all the time. That's just what I thought. And then I got to about 33, 34. So it's about 79 years ago. And I thought, you know what? Maybe they're just really good at football. Maybe Tom Brady's really good at football. Maybe Bill Belichick's a great coach. And it's not just cheating. At some point in time, you have to grow up and just realize when you see greatness, which is what we're seeing, what we have seen with the Patriots, and what we're seeing now with the Chiefs. Just because we went from one dynasty to another does not mean anything that anybody's cheating. This is why I asked people about a week ago. I asked you guys, what is it that you want? Do you want parity or do you want the dynasties? Because I've always been told dynasties make sports better. But when dynasties happen, you think it's cheating. Nowadays, back in the day, it didn't matter, right? Dynasties were dynasties. When the Lakers were winning championship after championship after championship. Same thing when it comes to the Celtics. Doesn't matter. Steelers, doesn't matter. Cowboys, doesn't matter. But now that we have the internet and everybody has an opinion, even though they shouldn't, everybody shouldn't have one, but they all do. We get it dumbed down to here, where everybody's cheating just because your team didn't win. I need to get back over here. Wow, chat just blew up. Jay Hall, yo, what's good, Jay? I need to have you back on the show again, man. He says running backs don't matter. However, the running game does matter. Okay, we are. I really don't want to get into this right now because I need to get this Luka AD thing because y'all be tripping over that. Running, stop it. We're going to stop. I'm going right now. Y'all, I'm blowing you up. We're squashing it now. You know what? No, I'm not because God, Jay, you did it. You brought me back in, man. Parity is something that everybody wants, apparently. But they really don't. Like, we've come to a point where if your team isn't winning, everybody else is cheating. Or if your team is cheeks, it's, well, maybe we'll get it right. No, you guys, oh, it's so frustrating. Okay, no. We're not doing this. AD and Dallas, we're doing that now. I got a real secret for you guys. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter. Luka going to LA means nothing for the Lakers. AD going to the Mavericks means nothing. The only reason why this is a big deal is because there's two big names being moved. So the Lakers were already bad defensively. So what did you do? You made them worse defensively, but you added a great score. Dallas was fluttering around 500, and they moved from an offensive quote-unquote juggernaut to a defensive quote-unquote juggernaut. And it doesn't matter. Neither one of these teams are going to be doing anything. And what most people are focusing on is the fact that Luka's 25 and AD is like 31. Does that mean something? Sure, of course it does. Like the age means something. It also has something to do with. I've been telling you all of this for the last 4 years. There are certain stats that don't matter to me personally. Look, everybody's different. Everybody has their own opinion on where they align with what is valuable to the team, what is valuable to your Hall of Fame resume, things like that. I am not here to debate that. What I am going to say is I have always been a big proponent of interceptions are a huge overstatement. Steals in the NBA are a huge overstatement. Sacks are a huge overstatement in the NFL. Luka Doncic, just because a couple of years ago he was like in the top 10 or so of steals, he is a terrible defender. But if you're already terrible on defense, you might as well get somebody who can get buckets, right? And Luka can do that. He can get you buckets. What I've been told through the grapevine of what is NBA Twitter and what is NBA Facebook is that the Mavs just don't want to pay him because his next contract is coming up where it's going to be crazy, crazy, crazy expensive to keep him, which I also understand. But I bring you this notion, and I brought this up on the Playbook Podcast page here on Facebook, is if you've been in the league for 5, 6, 7 years and you have no MVPs, you get crucified. If you have no titles, you get crucified. And I do this with Josh Allen. And this is why I say I use your logic against you, the fans, the people on social media. I'm using your logic against you. By every single metric, Luka Doncic is a talented dude, but you can't win with him. Am I wrong or am I wrong? He doesn't have any of the hardware. And I know he's 25. I get he's 25. I get it. But y'all also told me last year the Detroit Lions would get back to the NFC Championship game because they got there the year beforehand. And guess what? They didn't. These things are not linear where just because you did one thing one year, you automatically get there the next or get further. So here's what's going to happen with the LA and Dallas Maverick thing. And everyone's freaking the hell out because the Mavericks got the absolute church doors blown off of them today by the Cavaliers, which is fine. You want to know why? Because that's not even a JV roster that they put up against Cleveland today. Because AD wasn't playing, and guess what? You didn't have Luka either. Duh, because they both got one got moved and one hasn't played yet. Neither one of those teams, with the Lakers and Mavs, had any shot of doing anything this year or going forward. And a lot of people are saying, well, the Mavericks, they got toasted. How? Anthony Davis, to me personally, Anthony Davis is the better player than Luka Doncic. Luka offensively is better. I get that. But he is a complete liability on defense. And, bro, he's a whiner. He's a complainer. He's not my dude, man. I do the exact same thing that I do with Giannis. I cannot, for the life of me, ever want to see Giannis Antetokounmpo ever play basketball. It is not aesthetically pleasing to me. He's a whiner. He's a complainer. I saw what he did to Mike Dunleavy, man, when he was a rookie, when he chased down him and punched him in the back of the head. Some people love this dude. He's just not for me. And with Luka, offensively, I know that he can get you buckets. But the Lakers already were not a good defensive team. So what you did is you took somebody who is good at defense and you replaced somebody with him who's really good at offense. But your starting five is still cheeks. And so is Dallas's. Like, nothing is happening. The only reason why it's a big deal is because big names are being moved. Nothing is going to happen. The Lakers aren't winning a championship this year, and neither is Dallas. And I will tell you something real quickly. Neither one of them are going to win a championship in the next 5 years either. And if they do, it's the only reason why they might potentially is what they do during the offseason. If the way that these things are constructed right now, there's zero chance that either team wins a championship in the next 4 years. If you keep the rosters the same, right? Which obviously is not going to happen, but let's be serious. Look at those starting fives. You think either one of them is going to championship? It's only a big deal because of the names that are being moved, and y'all are being wild and being weird about how the Mavericks have somehow botched the bag. To go back real quick, because this is something I have to go back because I go through my screenshots. I didn't see it. Why? It's in front of me, but I don't have my phone on. But it was Dallas messed up the KP thing. Dallas messed up the Brunson bag. Now they're messing up everything that has to do with with Luka right now? No. LaShawn was kind of chiming in earlier with me on the Playboy podcast pages. Y'all thought that Porzingis was weak. Y'all thought that he was injury prone and that he was a liability. And then when he becomes essentially the fourth option and had basically an entire half of a season to get ready, then they win a championship. It was like, oh, well, Porzingis, well, he's good again. Y'all are some dummies on that. Same thing when it comes to Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson went to the Knicks for less money. Less money. And now with Luka, it has... I want to do this real quick. I was told that both Luka and LeBron were blindsided by this trade. Well, which one is it, guys? I thought that Luka had all the power in Dallas, and I thought that LeBron had all the power in LA. I thought LeBron made all the decisions. What are we doing here? Do neither one of these guys have any input? Do you guys just want to believe whatever the media tells you what's going on? Because I've been telling y'all forever, why don't you just think for yourselves, man? Because this is wild. This trade was bonkers, right? I didn't see at all. I never thought in my wildest days that Luka Doncic would ever be traded unless he came to the media, or not to the media, when he came, if he would have come to the organization itself and say, I want to be traded, then maybe it happens. Maybe. But the fact that it was under wraps the entire time, but y'all was telling me that he's untouchable. This is why I tell you guys all the time, nobody is untouchable. That bad contract, Russell Wilson, he's tradable. Russell Westbrook, tradable. Everybody's on the trade block all the goddamn time. Everybody has to be. It's whatever you think is best. And honestly, it does. Again, I told you, it doesn't matter. The Lakers and the Mavericks, both, they're not doing anything this year or for the next 3 years. But you gotta just stop. I want you guys to think for yourselves, man. This country has just bogged itself down to, oh, somebody who's higher than me says something, that must be right. Y'all was telling me for years, Luka Doncic is untouchable. Well, guess what? He got touched, and he gone. Now y'all look like a bunch of dummies. Now we're going to go to the chat real quick because this thing blew up. Jason, I love Giannis. I don't care if you love Giannis. I hate that dude. I really cannot stand him at all. LaShawn says this trade deadline is going to be interesting this week. I think it will be because look, if we think that certain players are untouchable and Luka got traded, it's going to be an arms race, man. And it's just stop telling yourselves like these things can't happen because they can. And I saw something where I was scrolling through my socials earlier, and Luka's dad said that he deserves better. Oh, he deserves better than Dallas? Have you seen that roster? They're cheeks, man. Like, everybody just feels like they're entitled to something, and they're not. And guess what? You're still a pro athlete. You're still making millions. It's going to be okay. And the one thing that irritated me is when folks said that he got robbed of like $112 million. I mean, kind of. But he didn't really get robbed because he didn't have the money yet. So there's that. You can't lose something that you didn't already have, right? You can't. That's not how that works. You can't lose what you didn't already have. But the potential money, sure. But if he's going to be in LA, I'm sure that he'll be just fine. He'll be just happy enough, and he'll make up money in other avenues. Let's get back to the chat real quick. Porzingis always been good. Was J Hall. Man, no. Okay. No. We're not doing this, man. We're not doing this whole Porzingis has always been good because he wasn't always looked at as being good. Look, y'all hate when I use your logic against you, and that is what I'm saying. I know as a talent, Porzingis is good, but what the problem is that he was viewed as a very frail person and competitive athlete, right? So you can't pay Porzingis because he's frail and he's going to get injured. The same thing with Anthony Davis, which I had to call somebody else out earlier about the whole Anthony Davis narrative of if he can stay healthy. Can we please get over the fact of the Anthony Davis can't stay healthy thing? He's good and he's fine. People miss time. And in today's NBA, it is very, very, very much accustomed that if you're a star player, you're not going to play every single back-to-back. You really do sound incompetent. You really do sound like you don't know anything about anything when you say, well, if he can only stay healthy. When he's played on average like 70 games the last 6 years. Yes, there's going to be some injuries, and yes, he's going to want to take days off. And is it some entitlement? Sure. Of course it is. But look at Kawhi Leonard. Y'all roasted him, then you didn't care, then you did care, then you didn't. It's fine, man. It's not that serious. But when it really comes down to the actual thing with Anthony Davis is that he is available. He's there. It's an old narrative. It's an old, lazy narrative. Remember Steph Curry when he first got in the league? Y'all remember how much time he missed? And y'all didn't want to pay him, and y'all thought that he was going to be weak and he was going to be frail. Yeah, sometimes these things just turn for the best. And sometimes you just want to lay into the weakest and lamest excuse. Anthony Davis is fine right now. And if he gets injured again, it's not that it's not going to be he's injury riddled. It's just if he gets injured, he gets injured. But he's been fine. He's been on his own platform and he's been good and available. Oh boy, wow, chat is really blowing up. LaShawn said, I'm going to go back a little bit. Owners and GMs only knew it and moved fast in the past 24 hours. Well, see, the thing that what I've been told is that LeBron's GM knew. But LeBron didn't know. This is what, and I don't want to discredit LaShawn because I feel he's somebody like me where we want to take a step back and really give our own. We don't trust anybody when it comes to the media. It's mostly a coaches, players, organizations, GMs. They're all going to lie to you. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, and then maybe you run with it, and maybe you don't. So Hunter told me yesterday that, hey man, LeBron's agent knew 2 days before this happened. I don't believe that at all. Again, this is me talking. I don't believe that at all. So LeBron is supposed to be the person who runs. This is going to be fun for a lot of you. So does LeBron run the Lakers or no? Is Luka? I was told also that Luka was the second best player in the NBA. You're trying to tell me that LeBron James and Luka Doncic didn't know that these trades were going down at all? That seems like it wouldn't be very good business for the guy who's making you money in LA, and the only reason why you're viable in Texas. Well, I mean, the Rockets are good at least now. But we've done this so many goddamn times, and LeBron makes all the decisions. Really? You think LeBron James would want to get rid of one of the best defensive players in basketball to get an offensive liability? And he didn't know about it? And Luka Doncic didn't know that he was getting traded to the Lakers? Even though he's the only reason why you would go to a Mavs game? I mean, sure, there's Kyrie, but, but they're old. They're old. Kyrie and AD, they're old. Again, this trade means nothing. In the grand scheme of things, it is a wash. It is LA is going to be even worse at defense and be more entertaining. Dallas is going to be better at defense and worse at offense and still be cheeks as well. They're both not good. Let's be serious. They're mediocre teams. It's the only thing that you did was you gave LA a little bit more. You gave the Lakers a little bit more quote unquote star power, right? Like they needed any more as far like from the branding standpoint, right? Because that roster is not good. It's not. The Lakers roster is not good, and neither is Dallas's. It's only a big story because they're swapping players that are such huge names. But man, when I look at LA going forward, are they looking at things past the LeBron stage? Yes. I mean, like you obviously have to do something, but the 6-year age difference to me doesn't mean as big of a difference as most people think that it should. Is that to me, Anthony Davis is the better overall basketball player. He can shoot the three, step back. He actually plays defense. I don't have any problem with the trade itself, but looking at it from the perspective of the Lakers are looking forward once they don't have Bron anymore is, but I thought Bron wasn't any good. I thought he was old and washed. Like why do you have to like replace him essentially, you know? So I don't know, man. When it comes down to this, Luka is going to be just fine. Monetarily, he'll be fine. Obviously, there's going to be more in taxes because whatever games he plays in LA, which will be a lot because it'll be Clippers and Lakers games. Whoa, God. This chat really blew up. But for me, I just don't think it's not a huge. I don't feel like either team really lost in this trade. You get Dallas gets AD, where they get a better defensive player, but now you lose somebody who can get you buckets, and LA gets a defensive liability and can get you buckets whenever he wants to. Congratulations. But once again, right? It's a team sport. Wink, wink. Go back to the chat real quick. Holy Jesus. Mavs are going to be fine. LaShawn says Mavs are going to be fine as long as they stay healthy. That's the whole thing, man. Like, we have no idea who's going to be. We don't know. And even when we say they're going to be fine, we have to define fine. Right? We have to have an honest conversation about what do we define as they're going to be fine, because fine is they're 500 right now. To me, they're going to be 500 with AD or with Luka. It's the same thing, right? You're basically swapping out one extreme for the other. One's really great at defense, one's really great at offense, but AD at least gives you both sides, or Luka doesn't. Like that's my biggest thing. Anthony Rest, they can contend with AD. Oh, so you think? All right, I'm getting ready to hang this up. So before I want to get into this real quick. I was supposed to do the car. If you were to put a car manufacturer with a sports name, what would you name them? And I had my own special thing, but honestly, the vote, I had more people respond with things than the voting. So I'm going to reach out to these guys individual and give them their flowers, and also give them their cash prizes, because the voting was way less than what the actual responses was. But to say that the Mavericks can contend with AD, false. They can't. And I guess the reason why I say it's false is like when people say that a team can contend, what do we mean by contend? Are we talking about a 1-year run where maybe Dallas like last year? Okay, cool. You got to the finals. Awesome. And now you're cheeks. Same thing with the Detroit Lions. We got to the NFC Championship game last, and we talked about this earlier in the episode. You got to the NFC Championship game, you could only go further. No, you regressed. The Washington Commanders, you guys weren't even a playoff team, and then you went to the NFC Championship game. None of this is going to be a cut and dry thing of you are a contender. And a contender to me means that you are something that can be viable for at least a 2 or 3 year run. So, well, there's that on top of the fact that if you want to put it in a vacuum of right now, win now. Because when you make these kinds of trades, because again, AD is the guy who's old and 31. If you're making that trade for Anthony Davis, it means that you believe that you're one Anthony Davis away from winning a championship. Are the Dallas Mavericks and Anthony Davis away from winning a championship? If you had Luka, maybe. But since you had to give him up in the trade, no. They aren't even close. They're not close. Being a contender is one of those, it's a loose term, and it's something that I get frustrated with all the time. And I call people on it, and I'm very consistent with this. A deep run has to be, if you're going to say deep run or is a contender, you have to be very specific on what that is, because being a contender would say you make the playoffs. Obviously means you're a contender. But if in the NFL, you have a losing record but are in a Chiefs division, you're in contention because you're in the playoffs, even though nobody believes in you. You could win 6-7 games and still be in the playoffs and be in contention, right? Am I wrong or am I wrong? The other thing is making a deep run. When we put it into the perspective of making a deep run, it's a 1-game sample size in college basketball, college football, the NFL. What is a deep run? Winning 1 game? Winning 2 games? What is defined as a deep run? What is considered a contender? We use it so loosely, but we can't define it. And that's what frustrates me about sports fans, is they want to put these blanket statements of, we are a contender. So you're in the top third. The top third is like, we're good. We're good enough. You're not a contender if you're in the top third. It's not a deep run if you win 1 playoff game. Oh, so you were in the wild card round and then you went to the divisional round. That's a deep run? No, it does. Stop it. Deep run to me personally, and you can disagree all you want to, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to agree with me, just don't want to say it because they're fans. And if it doesn't mean it, if it's not my team, it doesn't apply. Deep run is basically championship round. In the NFL, if you go from the wild card round to the divisional round, that is not a deep run. It's just not. Get to the conference championship. If you get to the conference championship, to me, that is considered a deep run. Whether it's a 1-game sample size, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-game sample size. Get it there. I don't believe in the fact of a deep run, especially on 1-game sample sizes. Football specifically. To me, it's one of the dumbest things that we do. We're a contender and we can do a deep run. Man, there's only 3 games that you can possibly do in the playoffs anyways. How is it a deep run? Either you lose or you move on to basically, and depending on if you get a bye, it's the dumbest. We want to pretend like we're so smart when we're not. Just chill out, guys. Chill out. So Nigel just chopped in and goes, NFL deep run is typically defined as conference title game. That's what I just said. But let's be serious. I'm asking you guys to be honest with yourselves. When the regular season is going on, when we have these conversations, how many teams do you hear they can make a deep run? They can make a deep run, right? This year. Oh, well, the Ravens, they can make a deep run. The Bills could make a deep run. The Chiefs could make a deep run. Only two teams can play. Houston might. The Chargers, they might make a deep run. It's 2 games to get you there. No, Anthony says it's clickbait. No, dude. I'm not doing clickbait stuff. I'm saying what we see. And Anthony, you know, because you see it through everything else that we see on these sports pages. When people say, make a deep run, it is very much, very, 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 very much. It's just, well, if you win the game, they do. Okay, Anthony, I know they do that in every sport, but my point is, be smart about it. Like we see in the NFL, right? Once we get to like week 10, what do you hear? Whatever you're watching, NFL Live, ESPN, they could make a deep run. And there's 9 different teams they throw out there. Like, it's anything can be a deep run. Anything could just be, well, that's a championship level team. If they get hot, if they stay healthy, there's so many caveats. And it's like, God damn, can you guys just, instead of just saying if they, what's in front of you? What do you actually believe in? Do you really believe that 13 different teams have a chance at winning a title? No, because they don't. It's the same. I say this at the beginning of every single damn football season. What is your percentage of winning the Super Bowl after it's done? You basically have a 3% chance, right? There's 32 teams. Everybody essentially has a 3% chance of winning the Super Bowl. But we know that there's not 32 teams that can. Right? It's just, it's not that for me personally, and I know I get worked about like the way that we perceive sports, it irritates me. God, wow, this thing is really blowing up. I personally don't value the opinions of the major network talking heads, which is Nigel. And to be fair, like Nigel, I don't agree with everything that you usually say, but I do know that about you. I do know that you don't subscribe to the rule of whatever these talking heads say. And that's where I've always been too. It's just I don't appreciate the fact that we dumb things down to deep run. Okay, so if you won one playoff game, most folks would say that's a deep run, whether it was wild card to divisional or divisional to conference championship. You win one game, that's a deep run. No, we have become so desensitized with NFL football that deep run just means win a game. People are still in Nigel, I know that I know that you feel this with me. The people that still go, well, Tim Tebow won a playoff game. I want to fight everybody in the street who says that. And I know that you feel the exact same way. Oh, he won a playoff game. Cool. Cool story, bro. It's ridiculous. But so Anthony, you're agreeing with Nigel, but you're essentially agreeing with me. Like, I'm just saying, like, conference championship to me means you're making a deep run. If you're going to say, but we just blanket statement of this team could make a deep run. But the problem is we do it with goddamn almost half the teams in half of these leagues. They could make a deep run. Okay. And do they or don't they? And we have to just be honest with ourselves. Like, what do we define as collectively? And we're never going to agree with this. I feel like that is the largest thing. We're never going to agree on what is a deep run. There's too many people. There's too many opinions. One bad half can change the course of an entire playoff run for multiple teams. Is what I was saying. And look, and that's yes. We got way off topic, and this is going to be a really, 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 really bad audio podcast for everybody. The lives are always fun, but when I get off topic and I get back into the chats, I get off topic, and it's a really bad listen. But you guys know the drill. You can find the audio podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Like, share, subscribe, smash the 5-star reviews. All right, I'm gonna do one more thing. Anthony says the Lions were going to the NFC Championship if they didn't have injuries. Nope, they weren't, because you know what's weird? They had this guy named Jared Goff. And I was right the entire season. You guys know the drill. Stay up. Stay blessed. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Remember, like, share, subscribe, smash the 5-star reviews. Tell your friends, hide your kids, hide your wives. Again, audio platforms everywhere. Search the Playbook Podcast. Search Prescott Kelly. Share it with your friends. It costs you nothing. Also, the people who had the best automotive nicknames, those guys are getting a cash prize. Be a lot cooler if you interacted. Catch you guys in the next one.